experiences here at OU were great because they were very diverse. I studied engineering, but I also always worked. So I got to work at a clothing store on Campus Corner. I got to wait tables at a steakhouse. Just various things. I always had a job, and then I was also in a social fraternity, and so I had a good social life. I studied hard, being a chemical engineer, and then I always worked, and which brought one of the main lessons I learned is there's a multiple of effectiveness if you're busy. The less busy you are, it's a multiple less effective you are. Wow. So you got it because you learn how to coordinate your time and your activities, and so you get more done by a multiple. Well, we had a great football team too. I was here in the middle 70s, so I got to see Joe Washington play, and Billy Sims, and the Selman brothers. So I was here at a really great time for OU, from an academic standpoint, from football, and from everything that was going on campus. It was great. What it did for me was it just educated you on how to think through a problem. I mean, it gave you some specific technical abilities, but just being able to think through a problem, solve it, and know the pathway to solving it was the biggest thing I learned. It was a great experience, and that's what's, because a lot of the jobs I've had since I've gotten out of school, gosh, have hardly anything to do with chemical engineering.
Really?
Get your engineering degree, number one. It's a great degree. Even if you want to be a salesman or a business person, I mean, I think if you've got the capability of getting an undergraduate engineering degree, that's a great decision.
Wow.
Because nothing else, when you show up in an interview or anybody, if you say, I've got a chemical engineering degree, well, it sets you apart to some degree. The other thing is be intentional about what you do with your time. Like I've always been very happy that every summer I had a different experience. I got to live in Wyoming. I got to live in a little bitty town I talked about in Kansas. Lived in Tulsa and did some work with city service back then with natural gas plants. But every experience I had, that's who you are. And so, even the type of jobs you have. I mean, I got to work in a clothing store. I mean, I didn't know anything about clothes, so I got to work at a clothing store on Campus Corner. So don't get stuck in a rut. Think about things on, who you meet, what you do, and because those activities are who you are, even as small as they may seem.